getting to the UK, because Parliament returned to Westminster this week. It's the only real topic in town, of course. What does Brexit mean? Yes, we're going to talk about that again. What's the deal with Europe after Britain leaves? So, Janet, after what you've heard from the Prime Minister and from all the politicians, are you any the wiser, do you think?
No, there's massive confusion, of course, partly because everybody wants to keep their cards very close to their chest. Nobody wants to reveal what their ultimate objectives are. But it's very important to remember that there's at least as much confusion and conflict on the European side of these negotiations. There's a really serious tug-of-war going on between the Commission in Brussels and the national heads of state, two of whom, in France and in Germany, are in serious political difficulties and are coming up for election. So they are not going to presumably let Brussels and the Commission run away with this, with their particularly aggressive anti-Brexit stand. And some kind of agreement is going to have to be reached that sidelines the Commission and Brussels, which is particularly sort of aggressive and hostile toward Britain. So this is, there's as much massive difficulty and confusion about the outcome of these negotiations on the other side of the table as there is on ours.
Agnes?
I'm not so sure. I mean, seen from Europe, the confusion comes entirely from Britain. Since the 23rd
You mean no one can understand what we're doing, Agnes?
Well, I mean, Britain is supposed to trigger Article 50, whenever this happens. And anyway, we've learned...
It will happen in the beginning of next year. I'll tell you
well,
that right
anyway,
now.
British MPs won't have a vote on it. And, I mean, this week, so we've got Mr. Brexit, David Davis, saying at the dispatch box that it'd be nice to be part of the single market, but... If it means agreeing to freedom of movement, then this is not going to happen. Then Downing Street has to say, well, this is a private view. Yeah. OK, so we have a government minister saying something, dispatch box, but it's his private view. Then we have Lime Fox. The second Mr. Brexit.
I accept all that. But these really are pretty petty indiscretions compared to, for example, the disagreements between Angela Merkel, and the Commission about how Brexit should be dealt with. Those are serious substantive difficulties.
I think that what we're seeing is, I think there was a huge sigh of relief when Theresa May became Prime Minister, when the uncertainty after...
As opposed to Boris Johnson.
No, as opposed to having an election.
Don't forget that according to Cameron's agenda, this was meant to be resolved about this week, wasn't it? It was early September that Britain was to get a new Prime Minister. This was accelerated. Theresa May came in. She came in with stability and sobriety, and I think people breathed a sigh of relief and said, well, of the candidates, this is the most sensible. And we saw the pound plunge. It's recovered a little bit, about I think 133 against the US dollar, but still down significantly. I think what we're seeing this week is a warning sign that there is much more uncertainty to come. Theresa May did a nice job of keeping things below the boiling point through the summer. But this, you say, the line about Brexit means breakfast, but Brexit for breakfast.
Or not breakfast.
Yes, you can see what's on my mind. Brexit means Brexit, but what does Brexit mean? And I think the inability to define that, the fact that the government is spending vast sums on lawyers right now to try to figure this out, suggests that we are going to have a lot of fights ahead and a lot more instability. And while I agree there are problems in Europe, I agree with Agnes. I think the real problem is going to be here, building a consensus and then imposing it, because even within her party, this issue of labour mobility is so essential to the British economy, the access of the city, the financial finance to Europe.
I want to bring Barry in on this one as well.
Honestly, when we look at the British, they are very clever. And they are very cunning, and ask us about the Middle East. In the Middle East, we know about it very well. So, I believe, they kept their cards very close to their chest. But it is nearly 3 months now since the Brexit. What they want to do.
They don't have a plan.
They don't have a plan.
They don't know.
No, they have a plan. They do. They are waiting to see where their interest is. And they try to win time.
So what's the plan?
To maneuver. The plan, I'll tell you. Suddenly, maybe in 2 years' time, they will come up with an idea that when we want another referendum, or if they believe that interest there, or maybe election. We don't. To be honest, definitely this dragging on and on and on. It means Britain would like to stay in a way or another, or at least.
We want our cake and eating it as well.
We're talking about dragging on and on. God, it hasn't been that long. I mean, we haven't triggered Article 50 yet, which is completely right. rational.
Why not? Why not?
Because
you want to get out.
Hang on.
Janet,
nobody,
you want to get out.
Nobody,
what are you waiting for?
Nobody expected the vote to go this way. The referendum was supposed to be a matter of course. David Cameron expected to continue as Prime Minister having won the referendum. So nobody planned for this. Nobody anticipated it. It was a very bad political move all around. And nobody had a very clear idea of what the objectives were for this if we voted for leave, because they didn't expect it to happen. And they were astounded by the popular majority in favour of leave. And now I think they're having to examine not only the possibilities for Brexit, but why the vote went in the way that it did, and what it will take to accommodate the clear wish of the electorate.
And how you sustain a prosperous British economy while accommodating those conflicting aspirations. It really is an impossible task. And I with all due respect, Barry, there is no plan. Let's face it. The only plan is to see what they can come. Is to try to come up with a plan.
And
that is just not a healthy place.
But it's in Europe's interest as well. The European economy is in actually more jeopardy from Brexit than the British economy.
No. Well, and certainly it's in nobody's interest, that's for sure. But when you think, okay, so we've had 3 months. They went on holiday, presumably. They come back fresh. There's 180 staff in David Davis' ministry. What are they doing? I mean, believe me, they really are. They're researching legally, they're researching economically. But I mean, they didn't research before.
Because that's true, and that's because they didn't expect the vote to go this way.
It's called governing. It's called contingency
absolutely.
plan.
No, I agree.
Do you think Boris Johnson is capable of actually negotiating for a better deal for Britain, or Liam Fox, for example?
Liam Fox was
I know. I'll tell you something. An Arab foreign minister, he met him, at length, and he said to me, this man is really learning the basics.
I'm sorry. That's not true. I've known Liam Fox for many, many years, and he has a very, very, very strong transatlantic connections, and that was his chief calling card for this job.
Except
his relationship for negotiating trade.
But we're not talking about America. We're talking about Europe. Janet, we're talking
it's not a priority.
Yeah, we're not a priority.
No. So what's...
This business about a queue and European negotiations with America, TTIP, as dead in the water. It has been killed off, in effect, by the European Commission, who hate it. So now there isn't any queue anymore.
No, but still,
they're preferential treatment.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, we're talking about America here. So actually, I'm going to just flip the topics a little bit.